Greetings, humans. You have entered the Command Zone, your destination for all aspects of Elder Dragon Highlander. Enjoy your stay.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Command Zone podcast. Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Rachel Weeks, and today we have a special guest host and upgrader. It's Damen Lenz.
Hi, everybody. I'm the podcast guy. You guys have seen me a few times now, and I'm here to do another upgrade.
Yeah, so today we are upgrading the Planeswalker Party Commander Masters Precon. It is the Jeskai deck. It's red, blue, and white. It's Planeswalker focused. It's the first time we've seen a Planeswalker Precon, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm also really excited about it because most of the time you see Planeswalker decks that have green in it. And this is a really interesting and different way to take Jeskai.
Yeah.
And so when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's really cool. It opens up all these avenues that haven't been explored all that much and gives you different deck building challenges, which I think is good.
Sure. Yeah. How can you build a Planeswalker deck without doubling season? We'll find out.
We'll find out, yeah.
Today we are going to go over what is inside the box. We're going to talk about what the deck construction looks like, and then we are going to add 10 cards to it to get this tuned up so you can play it confidently at your next game night. Of course, that means we're going to take 10 cards out, and today we're using a budget of $50 to upgrade these Precons. But first, if you're going to buy any of the cards from this episode, please go to cardkingdom.com/command. That is our affiliate link, and that is a great place to pick up singles and sealed product of the Magic variety and others. You can get this Precon there. You can get any of the cards that we're going to mention. Card Kingdom has a great selection of all of the different singles that you're looking for in all of the various printings and all of the various conditions. Plus, Card Kingdom always sends your cards to you in one tidy package safely with a little token and a sticker. It's a ton of fun. So please support your Magic habit and support the show at cardkingdom.com/command. Once you have those cards in your hand, of course, you're going to need to protect them. You can support us over at ULTRAPRO.com/command. ULTRAPRO has some of the highest quality Magic and card game accessories in the business. You can get sleeves and deck boxes and playmats and binders. And one of my favorite purchases from ULTRAPRO is those card sorter things, because I am very particular about how my cards are stored. I want to be able to find them. I want to know they're safe when they're being stored, and I trust ULTRAPRO to do that. Plus, ULTRAPRO has the official Magic license, so they can get all of your favorite art, especially for Precons. They tend to do the commanders on playmats. You can get all of the officially licensed art over at ultrapro.com/command.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing some people roll up with their Commodore Guff playmats and the sleeves and the deck box.
Feel like, what's up? I'm the Commodore.
That's right. You're like, I'm going to roll up with my walkers.
Yeah, you can call me Commodore.
Get them a big hat, the Commodore hat.
Yeah, with the feather and everything. Exactly. He doesn't have a hat in this, but, we can put a feather in the beard.
That's right.
The final way to support us, of course, is directly over at patreon.com/commandzone. All of our patrons directly support this channel, making better and better content. Plus, they get access to Command Zone these outlines if you want to see the behind the scenes stuff, but you get extra turns and game nights a day early, so you can help us catch some of the mistakes made in editing, so we can change that before that comes out to the general public. Plus, we shout out one lucky patron every single podcast episode, and this one is dedicated to Justin Bulgarelli Jr. Justin?
You rock.
You rock. Thanks, Justin, for your support, and to all of our patrons. You guys, make this happen.
Yeah, you guys are amazing. We love every single one of you.
Let's get into it without further ado. We're going to talk about the Planeswalker Party Precon, and we can't talk about anything in this deck until we talk about the commanders. So let's get to know Commodore Guff. You want to read him?
That's right. So the first thing we have here is Commodore Guff. He's 1 in Jeskai, so 1 blue, red, and white. For a 5 loyalty Planeswalker, Guff. He says, at the beginning of your end step, put a loyalty counter on another target Planeswalker you control. All right. His +1 is you create a 1/1 red wizard creature token with tap, add red, and you can spend this mana only to cast a Planeswalker spell. And then his -3, you draw X cards, and he deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of Planeswalkers you control. And of course, he can be your commander.
Man, Guff does it all.
Yeah, he gives you not quite proliferate, but an extra counter on your end step, which you
one Planeswalker, yeah.
Right, which you want in a Planeswalker deck. He gives you a blocker, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And that blocker is also ramp that will let you cast your next walker,
right?
Which is awesome. And then he gives you a win condition.
Right.
For me, that's the biggest thing because historically, Planeswalker decks really struggle with closing out the game. Mm-hmm. A lot of times with Planeswalker decks, either they get attacked really early and they die, or you end up in that board state where you have all these walkers of really high loyalty, but none of them quite finish the game.
Yep.
But he gives you that win condition. So it's like you're not going to have all of those games where you end up in a stall. He reliably, all on his own, helps you refill your hand to get more walkers, and then also starts hitting your opponents.
He draws cards and deals damage with his -3. That's absurd. Also, you have to look at these as like basically as that's a +2 and a -2 because he can put an additional loyalty counter, right? On another one.
But not on himself.
Not on himself.
On
another one.
Yeah.
Which I knew. Well, but that's good. That means that, like, all of the Planeswalker in this deck are going to be even more powerful.
That's right.
All right, so Commodore Guff is the face commander of this deck, but we often talk about the secondary commander with the alternative choice to the commander. And this one is a kitty.
Yeah, it is the cutest little cat. It is Leori, Sparktouched Hunter. I do believe this is actually the creature that Luca
I think it's
binds with in the Ikoria story.
It's Luca's frenemy.
Yeah, and the really sad thing is if you look at the card Heartless Act, it is Commodore, or the other guy, what's his name? Dranith?
I don't remember who.
I'll show it on screen.
It's a human.
That guy.
It's definitely a human.
Yeah, he kills her.
Leori's lore is not. It's a sad.
It is really sad. But the card is great. All right, so it's Jeskai, so a blue, a red, and a white for a 3/3 legendary creature elemental cat. It has flying and vigilance, and then it says whenever Leori deals combat damage to a player, you choose a Planeswalker type. And then until end of turn, whenever you activate an ability of a Planeswalker of that type, you copy that ability and you may choose new targets for the copies.
For those who haven't looked closely at a Planeswalker, because this really hasn't been relevant before, the Planeswalker type is the name. So Commodore Guff is type Guff.
Right. It says legendary Planeswalker Guff.
Guff.
That is the type.
So with Leori, when you deal combat damage, you would name Guff, and now you can activate it twice, or you copy one.
No, you copy.
You copy a trigger. Yeah.
So whatever mode you pick, you get 2 of that one.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah. So this one's really cool if you're building those decks where it's like all Chandras.
Yeah.
Or like all
Ultra Fairies.
Yeah. Because then every single one of those, when you activate it that turn, you get 2 of it. So. Yeah, that card's sweet. I don't think we've ever really seen something like that. I know there was like the Chandra that upticks all of your red Planeswalkers.
All of your red ones, but I don't know. I don't know of a card that cares. Oh, Deification cares about the type.
The type.
They have printed a couple that mention it, but it's not something that we see referred to very often. So it's cool that we're getting something that kind of rewards you for knowing what that text box is.
Exactly.
Okay, so Leori is a little bit narrower, as we often see in these backup commanders.
Right.
Leori cares about one specific kind of Planeswalker, and this deck contains a multitude of Planeswalkers.
It does.
But let's talk about the... but before we pick which Planeswalker we're going to put in the command zone for this upgrade, we have to talk about what is actually in this deck. What kind of deck are we picking a commander for? So let's break down the stats. Okay. Pretty good. That was pretty good stats.
Oh, thank you.
I've been practicing. Yeah, you've been warming
I've been warming
in the
up.
mirror.
Yeah. Every day I wake up in the morning, I go, I get ready, do my routine, and then I'm just like,
yeah, what if I need to introduce stats today?
Yeah, who knows?
All right, so we are going to break down the kinds of cards that go in every commander deck. We're going to just talk about the regular categories first, and then we'll break down the more specific stuff in a moment. So first, there's a ton of ramp in this deck.
There is a lot of ramp. We got 19 pieces of ramp.
Oh, God.
Which is a lot.
So many.
So much ramp.
Okay.
They want to make sure that you're going to reliably get ahead on mana, which I guess is cool. Commodore does it too.
You also have ramp in the command zone.
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
You have 14 pieces of card draw. Which is pretty good.
That's a pretty good number. I like this one, especially when you have card draw in the command zone.
Yeah, that makes me really happy. We got 10 pieces of targeted interaction.
That's about what I run, especially in my lower power decks.
Yeah, that's again a number that I'm pretty happy with. We have 6 board wipes.
Well, it makes sense for a Planeswalker deck.
Yep. Normally, I'd say that's way too many, but in a Planeswalker deck, that is basically exactly what you want because you need to keep reliably controlling the board and wiping the board to keep your Planeswalkers alive.
Right. It's the best way to really make sure your Planeswalkers are safe. But that number of 6 board wipes also really bumps up that targeted interaction category as well.
That's true.
So like that 10 number looks very solid with 6 board wipes.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're basically saying, I have 16 ways of interacting with the board and protecting my walkers, which is awesome.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Finally.
And then we have 38 lands.
Plenty.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what we're seeing with these. Most of the time, they usually put in like 37, 38.
Yeah.
Which I can respect. You want to make sure that, especially new players that pick these up, they're reliably hitting their land drops.
Yeah.
And that's a little high, I think, for like long-term players. But out of a Precon, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm not upset.
For sure. I often run 38, but it's like mixed with modal lands.
Exactly.
So it's I could see swapping a couple of lands for modal spells long term, but 38 is a good number.
Yeah.
Worth noting, there's 18 basics in this deck, which is something that I want to mention just going forward. Well, that's a lot of them. It also takes up a lot of slots in the deck.
That's true.
So we'll talk about the reprints in a second, but there are 18 of them in this. Okay, so this is a Planeswalker deck. There are specific things that are required to make a Planeswalker deck go. Well, what's the balance in this deck?
Yeah, so the most important part, Planeswalkers. You need those in a Planeswalker deck. I know, crazy. You heard it here first, folks. We got 18 Planeswalkers.
Okay. Yeah. That's about what I would think.
Yeah.
It's honestly more Planeswalkers than I run in my Planeswalker deck, which may be a problem with my Planeswalker deck.
Fair enough. That is the interesting thing, because, we talk a lot about having decks that have specific themes, and normally you're like, I want like somewhere around 30, or like one out of 3 cards.
We usually say like 25.
But the thing with Planeswalkers is you want a little bit less because they're so vulnerable. And so you want to also have enough interaction, because if you run out of Planeswalker and then it immediately dies, you got very little value out of it.
Right.
So you want a little bit less, and then you up your interaction to sort of balance that out.
Right. I think 18 is actually a great number.
Yeah. I saw that and I was like, cool.
Okay.
And then we got 11 Planeswalker payoffs.
Yeah, these are cards that just care about the number of Planeswalkers you have, or the cards that reward you for having Planeswalkers, or, sort of buff up your Planeswalkers. And that makes sense. 11 like enhancer cards is usually what we'll call these.
And then we have 10 cards that add loyalty.
Okay, so these are your proliferates, or they add 1 loyalty like your commander does.
Right.
Just anything that makes your Planeswalkers more impactful.
Yep, exactly. And then finally, we have 18 pieces of defense.
Anything to keep your Planeswalkers from dying.
That's right. They say offense wins games, but defense wins championships. Same is true for Planeswalker decks. You really need that defense.
Yeah, because you have no offense.
Exactly. Yeah. Of note, I would say Commodore Guff fits into every one of those categories.
Really does.
Yeah, he's a Planeswalker. He gives you the payoff in his minus ability. He adds loyalty with his triggered ability, and then he gives you defense with the token.
Yeah, I think we're talking a lot about him and really puffing him up here.
Yes.
Commodore Guff is going to be the kid in the command center,
yes.
right?
There's no other way to slice it. The deck was built for him, and it shows. Leori is awesome, and I look forward to seeing the decks people build with Leori, but that's definitely one where you're like, I'm going to pick a specific Planeswalker and build that deck, which is not what this deck is. This deck has a diversity of walkers, whereas Leori wants all of the walkers to be the same type. So.
Right. And if you're into Leori and you really want to play it out of a box, there's definitely multiples of each Planeswalker. There's like 4 Chandras and like 4 Jaces, and I think there's 2 Elspeths, maybe 1 Elspeth.
There's 1 Elspeth.
There's 1 Elspeth, but like that's the thing, is it is mixed. There's 2 Narsets. It is mixed up enough that you could definitely find yourself in a position where you're not getting max value out of Leori.
Yeah.
So a little bit more of a build around. I like Guff. I think he's great in this command zone. We've now broken down what the deck does mechanically. We want to take a quick moment to talk about the contents of the deck financially.
That's right.
We're going to talk about the reprint value of the deck. So 72 cards in the deck are reprints. It is a reprint set. But 72 is like pretty normal. So there's 10 new cards, and then there's 18 basic lands. And that makes 72, right? God, I hope so.
We got that.
So there's, I was doing the math and got stalled out because I felt like I did it wrong. But no, 72 is correct. So this is going to be the combined value of the cards in the deck at the time of recording. We are recording before everything is announced. We have taken all of these numbers pre-announcement. When these reprints are announced, those numbers tend to drop. So they're not literal numbers. These are going to be comparative numbers to precons in the past. Now, this is sort of a tricky number to compare because these are very expensive precons.
That's right. So normally these precons are around $40, and these ones it seems like they're going for around 80, so around double what we're normally seeing.
And there's a huge variety of what these are going for, but they average out to around 80, and I think they'll settle around 80.
Right.
Especially in pre-release, there was a huge variety of the actual sticker price. So.
Right.
But we're going to talk about the total reprint value without any further caveat.
All right.
And what is that number, Damon?
The total reprint value of this deck is $168.75.
Okay. That is a big number.
That's not bad.
Okay. We do have to talk about this in a slightly different way.
Yep.
Because $168, if you bought this Precon at $40,
you'd be like, whoa, that's awesome.
Incredible.
You'd be like, let's go.
That's the best value we've ever seen in a Precon.
I'd be running to the store right now.
Absolutely. You'd buy all of them. Unfortunately, these are $80. And with MSRP fluctuating wildly, it's sort of hard to say exactly what these are going for, but we're gonna say 80. So we would expect the reprint value of these decks to be roughly what?
Double what the normal ones are.
What you pay for, because you're paying double.
That's right.
If I paid $40 and I get $100 worth of value typically in cards, then if I pay 80, I want to get $200 because I paid twice as much money. You need to give me twice as much stuff back.
Yeah, you're going to charge me more for it. I need to see something that's going to justify the cost.
Yeah, so that makes us look at this $168 in a slightly different light, because the average reprint value of our $40 precons are all around 100. So Baldur's Gate precons were averaged out to be 104. Brothers War were about 95. All Will Be One was about 101. March of the Machines averaged out to be around $97. So we would really want this number, if we're going to compare it to these other ones, to be closer to $200. And 168 ain't 200.
It is not.
To compare these more in a way that's a little bit more clear, what I calculated was a bang for your buck number. So I took the average reprint value of each set and I divided it by what you spent, roughly $40. And I generated a bang for your buck number. So Baldur's Gate is like $2.60 worth of cards for every $1 you spend.
Okay.
Brothers War is about $2.38 worth of cards for every $1. $2.50 in All Will Be One, $2.40 for March of the Machine. Now, if you take Planeswalker Party and you divide it by 80, which is what you're spending roughly, you're going to get $2.10 worth of cards for every $1 you spend.
So that is noticeably lower than the decks of the past.
Right. It is. It's not a ton lower, but it's like 40 cents every $1 you spend, which adds up.
Yeah, especially in a 100-card deck, you're like, that keeps adding up.
So I took that $2.10 and I was like, if you're getting, for every $1 you spend, you're getting $2.10 worth of value. And I multiplied it by 40. It's like, what is the value of this if I spent $40 of it? And I got $84.
Which isn't great.
So that would be the direct comparison of like just pure bang for your buck between the Planeswalker one and precons we've seen in the past. And an $84 precon, we would not be happy with.
No, we'd be saying, we expect more reprints from this. It's kind of disappointing and all that stuff. So seeing that with this deck is a little sad.
Yeah, it just doesn't quite get there. No. It's not what we've come to expect for precons, and it's good. We're getting, like, you're spending $8, you're getting more value out of it. But if we're going to be spending twice as much money out of it, we would hope to get twice as much value out of it.
Yeah, especially we're coming off of Lord of the Rings right now, so we just had a bunch of new people presumably joining the game.
Yeah.
So I would have expected these to either have a ton of value for the price you're paying, or to be priced a little bit lower, probably closer to what we've normally seen. So I'm a little surprised.
I know, and such a high price point with these is really tough for something that, is supposed to celebrate Commander. That being said, there are some very strong reprints in this deck. There are cards that needed reprints and have a little bit higher of a price tag. They just don't quite add up to a number that we're super excited about. Right. But let's talk about them. What are the big reprints that we are worth talking about, the notable reprints in this deck?
So the number one best one by far is the Chain Veil, coming in at $33.
Huge
Reprint. Very, very happy to see it. Not only just because of its value, but because one of the first things that you would want in your Planeswalker deck is the Chain Veil.
Yeah.
So the fact that it comes with it, if it didn't come with it, that value, that dollar amount would have just gone skyrocketed because of all the people presumably picking up this Planeswalker deck and wanting to upgrade it. So the fact that it comes in the deck, I'm very happy with.
For sure.
So just so you guys know, the Chain Veil, it's a 4 mana cost legendary artifact. It says at the beginning of your end step, if you didn't activate a loyalty ability of a Planeswalker this turn, you lose 2 life. And you can pay 4 and tap it, and for each Planeswalker you control, you may activate one of its loyalty abilities once this turn, as though none of its loyalty abilities have been activated this turn. In other words, for every Planeswalker, you can activate it twice.
Really, it's very pricey to use, but it's so much value when you have 2 or 3 Planeswalkers on the board, as you often do in this deck.
Right.
The next reprint is a great Planeswalker in Commander, and one that hasn't been reprinted yet, I don't think. It's Chandra, Awakened Inferno. This is the 6 mana, can't be countered Chandra. Really, really powerful. It's a little board wipe. It gives emblems. What I like about this Chandra in Planeswalker decks is it is a long-term win con.
That's right. It's a long-term win con, and it's a mini Wrath, so it protects your other walkers.
Right.
Too. And we should say it's coming in at $16.
We should. $16. We're going to move through the next few pretty quickly. Mystic Gate is coming in at $12. That's an Azorius land.
Yep, we have Magara the Diplomat coming in at $11. Just a little bit of card draw and sort of protection for your walkers.
Another great reprint, it's Spark Double, coming in at $9. This is a clone, and it's a very special clone, for it can copy Planeswalkers.
Yeah, and giving it an extra counter, which is just all upside.
Really solid.
And then with the next one we have is a Johnny Steadfast coming in at $7. Just another Planeswalker. His -2 puts loyalty on all your walkers.
One of the best Planeswalkers in Commander. It's Elspeth Sun's Champion. She's hot off another reprint and is sitting at $5.50 right now.
Right. We got Silent Arbiter coming in at $5. Just a little bit more protection for your walkers. And finally, Cascade Bluffs coming in at $5. Another filter land.
Yeah. So there's 9 cards that are worth more than $5 in this deck. We really like to see those high-priced reprints because those are the cards that are like meaningful adds to your collection. There's a lot of sort of things that need to keep being reprinted, like Swords to Plowshares and Soul Ring and all of that. We expect those in Precons.
Right.
But these are the cards that we're really going to take a chunk out of their price, hopefully, with this reprint.
Absolutely.
So some of the more expensive cards in the deck, not necessarily the best mechanically, though. I want to talk about the cards that when you draw them, you're like, oh, here we go. Yeah,
some of the absolute best cards in the deck. So the very first one we're going to talk about is really exciting because it's a brand new card, freshly printed in this deck. So that's Vronos Masked Inquisitor. It's 3 blue for a legendary Planeswalker of Vronos. Comes in with 5 loyalty. Its +1 is up to 2 other target Planeswalkers you control phase out at the beginning of the next end step.
So sick.
Yeah, that card is awesome because what that means is as long as he's in play, they cannot remove up to 2 of your walkers, which at the very minimum is your commander.
Right.
You're like, I will untap and have my commander in play.
Yep.
So that card is that plus ability is amazing. It's so good. Its -2 is for each opponent, return up to 1 target non-land permanent that player controls to its owner's hand. So target removal.
Great.
Doing 2 things you already want in your Planeswalker deck, protecting them in 2 different ways.
It's target removal.
That's right.
Pretty good.
So a 3-for-1, always. And then his -7, target artifact you control becomes a 9/9 construct artifact creature and gains vigilance, indestructible, and this creature can't be blocked.
I'll hit you with my Chain Veil.
Yeah, you had to.
Bonk!
Here's my 9/9 Chain Veil.
It's unblockable. It's such a funny thing.
Yeah, and it has vigilance, so it can also block. It's an
really
indestructible, unblockable attacker and blocker. It's kind of hilarious.
It's also extremely attainable. Like, this comes in with 5 loyalty, you tick it up to 6, and your opponents are incentivized to remove this Vronos because it does such a good job of protecting your other Planeswalkers. Yeah. But this card is great in a dedicated Planeswalker deck. It does all of the defensive things that you want to be doing all in one Planeswalker package.
That's right. The next one we have is Elspeth, Sun's Champion. We talked about earlier how it's just one of the best walkers. 4 white for legendary Planeswalker Elspeth, 4 loyalty, +1, you make 3 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. So what that means is you have 1 blocker for each of your opponents.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Oftentimes that protects you exactly the way that you need it to.
And a lot of the time, if you have 3 tokens, people just won't attack you.
Right.
Because they're like, well, it won't do anything.
Right.
And you're like, hey, I'll keep all my tokens.
Right. Which then means you untap, you make 3 more, and then they're
now
like, well,
6.
yeah.
Well, I can never attack you.
Yeah. Which is just amazing.
Yeah.
Her -3, also great. Destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater. Just a board wipe, which we just talked about how you want board wipes in the Planeswalker deck. So she does that too.
Notably dodges Leori.
Right. Oh, it does dodge Leori. I didn't even think about that. And then finally, her -7, you get an emblem with creatures you control, get +2/+2, and have flying.
Sweet.
Yeah, just all upside. Why not? So now those 1/1s you made earlier are now 3/3s with flying.
Really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
And then finally, the best card of the deck, to the surprise of no one, the Chain Veil.
Yep.
Which we've already talked about. It is amazing. It is great.
It just doubles the punching power of your deck, right? It basically says 4 mana activate, take an extra turn, but you can only activate Planeswalkers on this turn.
Right.
Which is so powerful.
Yeah,
it also goes
enough.
infinite with like a bunch of stuff. Well, one thing. More than one thing? A few things.
It goes infinite with a few things.
A few things. It's very powerful. It's going to be great in this deck, and it is holding up the bulk of this deck's value.
That's right.
So it better be good. All right, we are going to talk about the upgrade to this deck. We're going to add 10 cards. We're going to take 10 cards out to get this deck in fighting shape, be as powerful as possible, be the control nightmare of your playgroup's dreams. But first, we have a few words from our sponsors.
Mint Mobile presents the Surak and Goreclaw story. A bear and a hunter, once bitter rivals, now face a common enemy. But how did they come to unite?
Hey Goreclaw, it's Surak. Sorry about all the punching, but I think we need to team up against the Pharynx. Out of minutes. Why aren't you using Mint Mobile? They're the premium wireless service that tramples the competition, with plans starting at just $15 a month. And you get unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data on the nation's largest 5G network. Of course! You can keep your number, phone, contacts, the lot of it. Now make haste and sign up today so we can start working together! Wait, why do you own a cell phone?
To get your new wireless plan for $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/command. That's mintmobile.com/command. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/command.
Josh, do you know where we put the... What is going on here?
How's it?
Why is everyone dressed like you?
I know, isn't it great? I got tired of going to a dozen different websites looking for new employees, but now with my Quai Guys, I can be everywhere all at once.
Why don't you just use Indeed, the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place? They have powerful tools that streamline the hiring process and save you a ton of time. Like Indeed's hiring platform, where all the hard work is done for you. They match you with quality candidates the moment you sponsor a post, and only ones whose resumes meet your job description. In fact, Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined.
That is impressive, but could we hire more Joshes?
I think we have enough.
Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/CommandZone. Offer good for a limited time.
Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/CommandZone. Just go to Indeed.com/CommandZone and support the show by saying you heard about it on this podcast.
Again, that's Indeed.com/CommandZone. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. And then I'm going to flash out Illusory Ambusher. I will bolt it to draw 3 cards. I will sneak attack out Triskaidekaphile. I'm going to go to my upkeep, and I will win the game.
That was your first time playing the deck?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first time in paper. I've already goldfished it like 100 times on ARCHIDEKT. Their playtester is super user-friendly. Playing cards just takes one click, and you can mulligan, tutor, and move through your turns with the press of a key. There are simple menus with counters and copies, and you can take notes on cards as you play them.
ARCHIDEKT is the best place to browse, brew, and playtest Commander decks. Just go to archidekt.com/commandzone to get started.
That's ARCHIDEKT.com/commandzone.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us today. We are going to upgrade the Planeswalker Party Precon deck. We're going to make this party a rager.
Jeskai Rave.
Again, we're going to add 10 cards. We're going to take 10 cards out. This time we are using a budget of $50. So it's going to be 10 cards total. They're under $50, and you're going to have a great deck with some tight synergy. First, before we talk about the specific cards, I want to talk about what you were trying to do generally with these upgrades. How do you think the deck really needed some punching power or some improvement?
Yeah, so the first thing, we kind of touched on it earlier when we talked about the deck stats. It had a little bit too much ramp. 19 is a lot.
It's a ton.
It's so much.
Especially in a deck that's like, Planeswalkers can be very mana hungry, but they're not that hungry.
Yeah, they're hungry, but
you're
they're
not casting 10 drops or anything.
That's right. Yeah, they're very hungry, but they ain't that hungry. So we trimmed that down a little bit. But honestly, the nice thing was, other than that, it hit its card draw numbers, targeted removal, wipes, and all of that stuff, which I was really happy with. The other big thing that I wanted to focus on, I guess, two things. So first, I wanted to improve some of the walkers. I wasn't overly impressed with some of the walkers that they did choose. So I wanted to cut some of the weaker ones and add some better ones, and also up that number just a little bit. 18 is good, but I wanted it a little bit closer to 20. And then finally, finding more ways to leverage the Chain Veil.
Yep.
Because of how good that card is.
If it's going to be the best card in your deck, you best be able to find it. I love that this deck already just had a lot of the mechanics it needed. It just needed some of the top end, and we're gonna give it to it. So let's talk about these cards that you chose to add with your budget.
Yeah. So the first sort of category that we have is just generally powerful walkers. First one we have is Teferi, Temporal Archmage, coming in at 280. He's 6 mana, so 4 blue for 5 loyalty Planeswalker Teferi. +1, you look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the other on the bottom of your library. His -1 is you untap up to 4 permanents, and then his -10, if you can get there, you get an emblem with, you may activate loyalty abilities of Planeswalkers you control on any player's turn anytime you can cast an instant.
This is, I mean, Teferi's this Teferi is certainly the boogeyman Planeswalker of the format, other than maybe 3 mana Narset, which is already in the deck.
You're right, which is already here.
This is the Teferi that you're like, this one makes Planeswalker decks busted.
Not only because if you can ever get that -10, like, it feels so good being able to activate your Planeswalkers 4 times, once on every player's turn and at instant speed. But also, his -1 goes infinite with the Chain Veil.
Yep.
You just need the Chain Veil, Soul Ring, and then just anything else. And
2 lands. You need one thing that taps for 2 mana.
Right. And so if you have Teferi, the Chain Veil, and your Soul Ring, you can now activate the Chain Veil over and over again. And the way that it works is basically any Planeswalker you play after the fact, or any Planeswalker that is currently in play, can be activated any number of times. So you could just keep going. And he does tick down for that, so there's sort of a limit on how you can get, but there's other ways.
Infinite, but there's a lot of ways to put counters on other Planeswalkers. So it's not like, it's very powerful.
It's good.
It's very powerful.
Oftentimes that'll just win you the game, because all you need to do is get Guff's minus ability a few times, and you will have killed all of your opponents.
This and a Spark Double of another Teferi, done.
Yep, and you're there.
Really, really strong in this deck. And anytime that you can be untapping stuff to not only just the Chain Veil, like if you can untap a blocker that you attacked with, or you can untap mana to send out another Planeswalker, especially with those little like 1/1 wizard guys, you want to be able to tap them for mana, but having them up to block is also important in this deck. Really good.
The next one that we have, just another powerful Planeswalker, is Tezzeret the Seeker. He's 5 mana, 3 blue for foil loyalty Planeswalker Tezzeret. His +1 is you untap up to 2 artifacts. Minus X, you search your library for an artifact card with a converted mana cost X or less, put it straight onto the battlefield, then you shuffle your library. And then his -5, artifacts you control become artifact creatures, the base power and toughness 5/5 until end of turn.
Probably not that one.
You're not doing that one. You mostly have them for the minus. It's a 5 mana, tutor out your Chain Veil.
To the battlefield.
It puts it straight onto the battlefield. So he goes and gets your most important piece. He also gets Nev's Disc, which is in the deck, which is just amazing with Planeswalkers because it blows up everything except for Planeswalkers.
Really solid.
And then
Vronos can make an indestructible Nev's Disc.
Oh my goodness, you're right.
Oh God.
that is incredible. With Vigilance, you can attack with it too.
That's really good.
I didn't even think about that with Vronos. That's so funny. So Vronos and then Tezzeret tutor out the
That's in the
Nev's
deck.
Disc.
They put that in the deck.
Yes, Nev's Disc is in the deck. It is one of the Wraths.
Whoa. Okay.
So yeah,
really good.
that's something else you can do that we just thought of right now. But Tezzeret's plus ability, just untapping Mana Rocks is great. And then it doesn't go infinite quite the same way that Teferi does with the Chain Veil, but it goes a lot. Again, you can untap the Chain Veil and then like a Mana Rock or something, and you're still losing mana on that exchange, but just doing it a couple times is often enough.
Yeah.
So...
Yep, I love Tez in this deck. I've never bought a Tez for myself, and I really love him.
Really?
It's one of those cards that you're like, I should just get it, but I haven't had the specific moment.
Yeah, I picked one up for my Shurikai list because I just like the
Oh, yeah, it's great in Shurikai.
Yeah,
Love that.
tutoring up a vehicle is nice. And then untapping Shurikai, obviously, so...
All right, we put in a little bit more defensive stuff, notably because we're taking some out. So let's talk about some other ways to protect your walkers.
Yes. So first one I have is a card called Will Kenrith. He's 4 blue for a foil loyalty legendary planeswalker Will. +2 up to until your next turn. Up to 2 target creatures each have base power and toughness 0/3 and lose all abilities.
You guys chill.
Yeah, the best thing you could do is hit people's commanders, because now they just don't get that ability until you untap, and then when you untap, you can activate it again.
Oof.
And so you can lock 2 people out of their commander, which is crazy,
Brutal.
And then obviously turning 2 really good attackers into 0/3s just means that those creatures now do nothing in combat. So he just does an amazing job of protecting your walkers and also just hosing commander-centric decks.
For sure.
His -2, target player draws 2 cards, and then until your next turn, instant sorceries and planeswalker spells that player casts cost 2 less to cast.
Yikes.
Yeah,
That
so
seems good.
You can do cheeky things where you want to be political with it, but you could just pick yourself. You draw 2, and now until your next turn, your planeswalkers cost 2 less, so it's just a cost reducer.
Really good.
And then finally, his -8, target player gets an emblem with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. You're not trying to leverage that one as much. You still have a decent amount of instant sorceries, but you're really hit in it for those first 2 abilities.
For sure. It's target player. You can give an emblem.
Yes.
That's bizarre.
Because him and his sister were made in Battle Bond.
Right.
So
So
there
you
was
could
the
give
whole
an
teammate
opponent
stuff.
one. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Somebody could deflecting swat it.
Yeah, that's
Give
true.
me
You
that.
could pick yourself, and then they could deflecting swat and be like, "It's mine."
It's me. What?
That's so funny.
That's sweet. What I really like about Will in this deck is he also finds a sister.
That's right, because he has the partner with mechanic.
Really
so
good.
he partners with the next card, which is Rowan Kenrith. So for 4 red, 4 loyalty, legendary planeswalker Rowan, +2 during target player's next turn, each creature that player controls attacks if able. So goad, except they can come at you. -2, she deals 3 damage to each tapped creature target player controls. So it's like a mini Wrath. And then -8, target player gets an emblem with whenever you activate an ability that isn't a mana ability, copy it, you may choose new targets for the copy. So that works on your walkers.
Abilities.
Yep.
Yeah, that seems good. This is sweet. Anytime I can get a partner with card into a deck, they like both of them, it feels so powerful because in addition to the abilities that they are just costed for, they also just draw you a spell.
Right. And as you pointed out,
Yeah.
it's not only drawing a card, it's drawing a spell. So
Right.
you're not hitting a land or whiffing, you're getting something relevant for right now.
Right. And usually they synergize.
Yeah. Like you can, if you happen to get Will first, you can minus him, and then now your Rowan only costs 4 instead of 6. Or if you get her first, then you can do the little Wrath to protect your Will.
Right.
And vice versa. They work really well together. which is awesome, which is great. That's what
Because they
you
get
want.
partner
Yeah.
together. That's great. This is a big one. I can't believe this was in the deck.
I was a little surprised. I think maybe just because it's new.
I guess.
Yeah, but this was one of the first includes that I added. One of the best walkers that was missing is the Eternal Wanderer, 4 white, 5 loyalty, legendary planeswalker, no type, because that's what the Wanderer does. Yeah, nobody knows.
So don't pick the Wanderer for Leori.
Yeah, or you can't because there is no type.
Yeah, that's true.
You're just like, well, I'm just not gonna do that twice.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah.
Her static ability is no more than one creature can attack the Eternal Wanderer each combat, so she protects herself.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Which is just crazy. Her +1, you exile up to one target artifact or creature and return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of that player's next end step. So it can be a blink for you and you get it back on your end step, or you can blink your opponent's best attacker and they won't get it till their end step, so they can't use it to attack you.
Oh, it's so good.
So that combined with her static ability makes her very hard to remove.
Yeah, I mean, plus she's got a humdinger of an ultimate.
Yes, and so next we have 0. You create a 2/2 white samurai creature token with double strike.
Sure.
Really good blocker because it has double strike. And finally, her -4, which notably you can do as soon as you play her. For each player, you choose a creature that player controls. Each player sacrifices all creatures they control not chosen this way.
So everybody gets 1.
Yep, everybody gets
and
1.
they lose the rest, and they can only the Wanderer can only be attacked by 1.
Right, and presumably you're one of the players, so you kept a creature on defense.
Right, yeah.
Which is just awesome. Just a little mini tragic arrogance, but just for creatures, it gets around hexproof and indestructible because it's just a choice. There's no targeting involved in that, and since you have all the agency, you make all the choices. It's real good.
Yeah. Also, the Wanderer is only $1.50.
Yeah, she's super cheap.
When that card came out, I was like, "That's a $20 card," and it's not, but it should be like a $6 card.
She's real good.
But I'm glad it's $1.50, so you guys can pick it up for chump change.
Next.
Oh, I love this card.
This card is hilarious. It's Precon, Sky Rampart, coming in at only $1. It is a legendary creature wall. It's a 1/5 with flying and defender.
Always forget it has flying.
Yeah, it's
absurd that it has flying.
It's a flying wall.
Yep.
You know. When it enters the battlefield, you choose left or right. Each player may attack only the nearest opponent in the chosen direction, and planeswalkers controlled by that opponent.
Really good.
Yeah.
So Precon was sort of the de facto Jeskai Planeswalker commander of the past, right? Like I'd seen Precon Planeswalkers previously, and having it in this deck because it's such strong defense and it feels so annoying to remove a Precon.
Yeah.
Like, this is not good enough for this path.
But sometimes you
have to.
Yeah, because you can set it up such that nobody can attack you and your planeswalkers just keep ticking up and keep accumulating value.
Yeah.
And then I also wanted to note there's the new Teo in this deck who has a minus ability that does the same thing. So if you choose them having opposite directions, no one can attack.
No attacking.
So it's just
you may not attack this way, but also
you
may not attack
that way. So yeah, just really great. Definitely wanted to get this in the deck because there's very few cards that protect your walkers as good at this. And on top of that, even like you pick the direction, you pick left, and this player has something that they can attack with. You have a 1/5 flyer. Mm-hmm. It's so hard to get through that.
So obnoxious.
So yeah, at only 3 mana, it was an easy include.
Really, really good. So the way that you really make a Planeswalker deck pop off is by buffing the number of counters on it, by proliferating, or by anything that says you just get extra counters on your stuff. Right. And so we definitely wanted to bulk up this category.
This was really important because oftentimes the minus ability is usually the best ability on the walkers for a reason. That's how they're balanced. So putting those extra counters so you can get an extra minus in situations where you normally wouldn't be able to. Or
you can race to that ultimate.
Or racing, exactly, is huge. So one of the first includes Lae'zel, Vlaakith's champion, coming in at $1.50, 3 mana for a 3/3 legendary creature, Gith Warrior. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of Giths. If you would put one or more counters on a creature or planeswalker you control, or on yourself, put that many +1 of each of those kind of counters on that permanent or player instead.
Really so solid. Notably, this works when a planeswalker enters the battlefield because you are placing loyalty counters on it, so it enters with an additional loyalty. It also works when you plus your commanders because you're at your planeswalkers. Gosh. Every time you plus a planeswalker, you put a counter on, so it does an additional one. It doesn't affect minuses because you're not putting.
Right.
Of course.
You're not adding counters to it.
Yeah. It's not Karth. Karth the lion is something else. Anyway, you can't put Karth in the deck. But Lae'zel is a slam dunk in this deck. I can't believe she's only $1.50.
Yeah, and one of the reasons to be in white in a Planeswalker deck.
For sure.
That ability is really good.
Yeah, if you don't have green for this kind of stuff, it is really nice that white has that as well.
100%. Next card we have is Ickermoon Gauntlet, coming in at $4.50. It's 2 and a blue for an artifact. Planeswalkers you control have 0 proliferate and -12 take an extra turn after this one. That one matters a little bit less. The 0 proliferate, though, really good. And then finally, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, choose a counter on target permanent, put an additional counter of that kind on that permanent.
Yeah, so Ickermoon Gauntlet, first of all, is a win condition in Planeswalker decks. If you have an overwhelming presence of planeswalkers and no way to win, you can be like, okay, proliferate. And then the last one, you can -12, take an extra turn, and you can do it again. And essentially, it's can be infinite turns as long as you have a whole bunch of planeswalkers.
Right. And the nice thing is a lot of the times when you do that, you're kind of spinning your wheels, but Guff gives you that win con.
Right. So it buys you time, and it is a concrete way for you to close the game in these decks.
Yeah.
But on top of that, it's just a little mini proliferate engine. Every time you cast a planeswalker or an instant or sorcery or an artifact, make one planeswalker a little bit more powerful.
And like, it's a huge difference, like with Guff, -3ing him and then being able to do it immediately after.
Really good.
Really powerful. And so just getting just a little bit of extra value in an artifact that's just going to sit there and just keep giving you value. And this deck has the Narset Parter Veils, so giving her a way to plus with the 0 proliferate.
It has the Saheeli too.
And it has the Saheeli.
Yeah, so
that's
it's
right.
2 like planeswalkers without pluses.
So giving them the 0 ability to be able to start ticking up is really good.
Really solid. This card is so good, and it's definitely going to spike. So if you're interested in this deck, definitely get it now.
Yeah.
Because this is a really, really good in this kind of deck.
Next card we have is the Lithoform Engine. 4 mana for a legendary artifact. 2 tap, copy target, activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Notably, that hits not only the activated abilities of your planeswalkers, but the triggered ability of Guff on your end step.
Really
so you can do
good.
that twice. My 3 tap, copy target, instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Also, just always decent, getting a little bit of extra gravy with your instant sorceries. And then 4 tap, copy target, permanent spell you control. Just good.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a great mana sink when you're sort of out of cards, but you have a lot of planeswalkers, is like just getting maximum value out of those planeswalkers. And it's only $3.
Yeah, super cheap.
Yeah, this one came down a lot. It was really high for a while, and I'm glad it can go into decks like this. It is a little mana intensive, but again, we have 19 sources of ramp.
Yeah.
We'll be fine.
That's true. It has so much ramp. Even with the couple of ramp that I took out,
Yeah.
it still has loads.
Yeah.
So, and the nice thing is, a lot of times in Planeswalker decks, you end up in this situation where you don't need to cast a lot of spells because you have all the Planeswalkers to act as spells for you.
For
so
sure.
being able to sink that mana into an ability that's already in play is really good, and you have that kind of flexibility. So that card does all of that for you.
Like it a lot.
And then finally, this card is crazy. It is Displacer Kitten, 3 and a blue for a 2/2 creature cat beast. It's a little cute little cat, adding to the cat count. It has Avoidance. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. So you activate a Planeswalker, cast a Planeswalker, blink the previous Planeswalker, activate it again.
Because it's a new permanent. So notably, when it blinks it resets its loyalty. So you can minus it again. So you can minus, blink, minus it again. Cast something else, blink, minus it again. Displacer Kitten is absurd in Planeswalker decks and is one of the better engines, especially in blue. And it's got to be in this deck, which makes sense because a chunk of the budget is going there. Displacer Kitten is at $13.
And it can also untap your Chain Veil, which is great.
Yeah. Yep.
And it protects itself because it can blink itself.
As long as you have an instant held up. And Displacer Kitten is going to flag a ton of heat, so make sure you can do it when you can follow it up with some instants and sorceries, get some value out of it, or just have an instant that you can be able to blink it, protect it from some kind of removal spell. Because that card is scary. It's so good.
Yeah, it's crazy how good that is. And another cheeky thing you can do with the instant, if your opponent attacks your walker, cast an instant, blink your walker, they're no longer attacking that walker.
What? You lost it.
Where'd it go?
How did you lose it?
It was 3 feet from you. How did you miss?
That card's wild. It's so good. And this upgrade goes a whole long way to really adding some gas to this deck. And I was so surprised that the total was only $45.80.
Yeah.
Getting Displacer Kitten and Lae'zel and Teferi and the Eternal Wanderer in their Ikamarun Gauntlet, all of those are such powerful synergistic cards that are going to go a really long way to bolstering the impact of this deck. But of course, we have added 10 cards. So we must remove 10, the bane of any deck builder. Let's start with some ramp.
Yeah, let's trim down on some of the not so good ramp that's in the deck. First one, Cartographer's Hawk.
This card's awful.
Yeah, this card is not good.
Unless you're doing something where you want to cast creatures over and over again, like an Oketra something, it's just not a good blocker. It's not a particularly good attacker, and it's very slow ramp.
Yeah, even then, though, you have to untap with it because it doesn't have haste or anything.
It's not...
it doesn't do any of the things you want it to do.
It's quite slow. And I guess they put it in because it's a flying blocker to protect your planeswalkers, but we can do better than that.
Yeah.
The next one isn't ramp, it is draw.
Yes. A West Coast Explorer... it enters and gets you a basic for all of your opponents that have more lands than you. So
it's not even a basic. It's just planes.
Oh, okay. So it can get duels, which I guess is cool.
Yeah.
But
here's a 3-color deck.
Yeah. And there's like not a ton of duels.
Yeah. Oresco's Explorers definitely has homes. This one feels a little absurd. I want it more in a blink deck, or I want it in a deck that's really focused on making sure I have fewer lands than people so I can always draw off of it. It just doesn't quite have the impact that you want it to.
Yeah. Well, right. Like you talked about in a recent episode.
Yeah.
The How to Play White, you talked about like running extra balance lands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So always down.
So you can trigger this kind of thing. Yeah. But in Jeskai, you have so much ramp already. You have ramp on your commander. You have card draw on your commander. You're going to find your lands.
Yeah. Next, we have Wall of Denial. Just a 3-mana 0/8 defender with flying and shroud.
I mean, nobody's getting through that.
Yeah, but I'd rather have Promicon.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's just I want something that has an ability or affects the board in some other way.
Fair. They put a couple of these in. There's Fogbanks in the deck. Yeah. Right. I love Fogbank. I think Fogbank is actually super underrated.
Yeah, because it's very hard for opponents to get through on it, and it just doesn't die. And so a lot of times it's just like, well, we just don't attack because there's no point.
Right.
Unless they have trample, then it's like, But yeah, I'd much rather have Fogbank over the Wall of Denial.
Yeah.
Any day.
Even with the shroud.
Yeah. Well, because on top of that, you're going to really use a removal spell on a fog bank?
Yeah. And it's like, we'll figure that out eventually.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Cool. Next one we have is Oath of Jace. Part of that Oath cycle, ETBs, you draw 3, discard 2, and then on your upkeep, you scry X or X of the walkers you control. It's decent. I just don't love it.
Yeah.
It doesn't do quite enough for me.
Draw 3, discard 2, and you spend a card to do it isn't exactly card advantage. Right. Like you're even, and the impact, obviously it has some sort of value on the board, but you're going to be making enough decisions with the Planeswalkers, so don't scry 5.
No,
it's so complicated, and it doesn't help you all that much. So I agree.
The next one, maybe a bit of a controversial pick. Mm-hmm. Deploy the Gatewatch. 4 white for sorcery. You look at 7. You can put up 2 walkers from among them onto the battlefield and then rest on the bottom in a random order. I will tell you right now, you're almost never going to hit 2. The math's just not with you. You have a pretty good chance of hitting 1, if I remember correctly. I did some calcs and it was like 70% to hit 1 and something like 20% to hit 2 or something like that.
Yeah, with 18 in it or with 20?
With the 18.
Okay.
Yeah. And with 20, it doesn't increase that by nearly enough.
Change it all that much.
So at 6, I just much rather either A, just be wiping the board most of the time, or B, just playing a walker. A lot of times you're gonna run 6 and now you can cast nothing else. And
the risk of casting this and whiffing is just like Okay, pass.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, we added a number of 6-drops in this, so getting rid of something on the higher end makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, for sure. Next, probably one of the worst walkers in the deck is the Wanderer, the first one. It prevents the non-combat damage that we dealt to other permanents you control, which is neat, and then it just exiles a creature with power 4 or greater, which is not nearly enough for a 4-mana walker.
Yeah, you really do want it to be a lot more impactful. And I have seen the Wanderer overperform. Like, that non-combat damage thing does show up sometimes, but it's really only against specific decks, so you can't really count on it doing the work. Like, you're paying 4 mana for that effect. If it doesn't do anything, if that effect doesn't do anything, then you're like, I paid 4 mana to remove a big creature, I guess.
Yeah, like, it's great with Blasphemous Act, which is awesome. And you're in red, and it's in the deck, I would believe.
Yeah, you and other permanents. So, like, they can't burn your planeswalkers. If they can't do, like, direct damage to it. Yeah. I, like, when I played Dihada on game nights, Josh had Torwaki and could deal direct non-combat damage to Dihada. So it was really difficult to, like, keep her on board because he could just laser gun her. So the Wanderer would have been helpful in that situation. But again, you're not always playing against Torwaki. You're not always playing against direct damage decks. So the odds that the Wanderer does what you want it to do is about 50-50, which isn't enough. Right.
Yeah, I'm only really going to run her if I'm running a ton of the Earthquake type effects where I'm doing it, and then I can reliably get the ability.
For sure.
But you can't run it and count on, my opponent's going to be playing X deck, and so, I'm going to get the effect, because a lot of times you're just not going to run into it.
Right.
So, cool. Next one, another Planeswalker that they love to reprint. They love this card. Jace, Architect of Thought. He has a whole bunch of abilities. The point is, all of them are pretty medium. They're not great.
They're not very good. And they do love it. They just reprinted him in Neon Dynasty.
Yeah.
That's Neon Dynasty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They reprinted Party Jace, and I was like, Party Jace!
Yeah, I was really happy to see Party Jace. Party Jace is great.
And this one, I was like, what does he do? Oh,
yeah.
not much.
Yeah. I remember when he was in Standard, he was pretty good there.
Yeah.
In 1v1, he's all right, but in multiplayer, he doesn't do enough.
I can get behind that.
Yeah. And then next we have Johnny Steadfast. We talked about it earlier. It is one of the high value reprints, but you really only care about the minus ability and the fact that you only get it twice and you have to get rid of him. I don't love.
Yeah, I can get behind that. This definitely doesn't feel like something you want to spend 4 mana on, and it is only good if you already have a ton of Planeswalkers in play.
It doesn't help you at all if you've recently got wiped or all of your Planeswalkers died to combat or anything like that. It doesn't help you when you're behind.
Yeah.
It really only helps you in your head.
This on board is on the board alone, you're like, okay, I have nothing. I might as well have nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he was a pretty easy cut. Next, Narset Enlightened Master.
What? She's so broken.
Yeah, when you're taking extra turns or taking extra combats, but when you're not doing that, it's just not really worth it.
Narset tends to... It's important to know the context for this card. This is a 6-mana hexproof commander that is famous for taking infinite turns or infinite combats. And it is really difficult to deal with, and it is really, really powerful. And your opponents will treat it as such.
Yeah.
So they will see it, and they will go, ah! And you're like, I'm going to use it to cast a Johnny Steadfast.
Right.
And they'll be like, why?
Yeah, you shouldn't be... Yeah.
It is definitely... gonna put a target on your head, and unless you're prepared to deal with that and you're getting the payoff that target implies or that target is reacting to, I agree. This is gonna be more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah, you nailed it. Nothing else to add. That is every single point. And then finally, the last cut, Kazul, Tyrant of the Cliffs. 3 red, 5/4 ogre. Whenever a creature attacks, whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks, if you're the defending player, you make a 3/3 red ogre creature token unless they pay 3. So it does protect your walkers, because when they attack your walkers, you still count as the defending player. But just getting 1 blocker, it's good, but it's a little mana hungry, coming in at 5 mana and then sort of just sitting there. I wanted cards like Precon and some of the other includes that we added. So it just didn't. It almost got there, and this one was close, but I ended up cutting him.
Yeah, Kazul's cool, but it doesn't give you complete protection, right? Like if they attack you with a flyer, you're like, I can't make a 3/3 on the ground. Oh no!
Yeah, he
like,
just watches as
this
it
doesn't
flies
help
overhead and hits
at
the
all.
walker.
Yeah, like there's lots of cards that if you pay 5 mana, you have complete protection for your planeswalkers. And Kazul gives you some bodies, which is always helpful, but not necessarily going to save you in the face of an actual problem.
Right.
And if they attack you with like a 4/4 and you're like, cool, I make a 3/3 jump. I guess I'll now I don't have a 3/3 and I didn't kill the thing. Yeah. It's Kazul's sweet, but I don't know if it's worth the 5 mana these days.
Nah, it's just okay.
Okay. So those are the 10 cards to take out to make room for all of the cards we mentioned previously. We know that the budgets are a little bit higher than they used to be. $50 is a lot to spend on a deck that you've already spent $80 on. If you are making this, like if you're following this reprint and you don't want to spend, or this upgrade guide, excuse me, you don't want to spend all of this money, there are a couple of big things that you could not put into the deck. You could very easily not add Tezzeret the Seeker, and that would cut your budget down to like $30. Right. So, and if you don't feel like building around the Chainveil that much, or you could cut Displacer Kitten if you don't want to mess with Displacer Kitten.
Yeah.
And again, that would put you down to about $30. But all of these will make your deck really powerful and really cool. Jeskai Planeswalkers has a tendency to be very controlling, but the fact that you have a payoff in the command zone and you have the new Chandra, which is a payoff for Planeswalkers as well, a damage payoff for Planeswalkers, you are going to have a lot more punching power than this kind of deck has had in the past, which is huge. But before we get out of here, I want to talk about how the deck is going to play post-upgrade. So you've taken these 10 cards out, you put these 10 cards in, you've got a brand shiny new deck, you're taking it to the game store. How do you expect it to play out?
So this is true for basically every single Planeswalker deck. You are going to make enemies.
Yeah.
You are going to be the target. People see Planeswalkers, and a lot of times they just see it as a free attack. Because now you're just like, oh, well, I don't have to like worry about making enemies with this player by attacking them. I could just attack this walker. And a lot of times the sort of social dynamic sees that as less of a slight against players, I guess you could say. The other thing is a lot of times people feel like Planeswalkers left unchecked, which is partially true, will allow that person to run off the game. So just expect you're going to be the enemy a lot of the time. The way that this deck helps you with that is by running a ton of interaction and the wraths and stuff like that that we talked about, and you're trying to get as much cumulative value as possible. People generally don't like being board wiped over and over again. Fun fact. So you have to make sure that you're running those out meaningfully. So running them out when you have something to protect, or running it out when you're about to start advancing your board. Try not to get unnecessary hate, but understand that that is sort of a necessary evil of running a lot of Planeswalker decks. You're going to need a lot of wraths. It's going to play a lot like a control deck. You want to get your walkers out as soon as possible, and then which this runs a ton of ramp, so it actually does help you a lot with that. And then remove the creatures that are threatening your walkers, wrath the board, anytime it gets scary or untenable. And then what you're going to end up wanting to do is end up with a couple walkers that are surviving a wrath, and you keep taking them up, start getting those up to having a critical mass of walkers at high loyalty, and that's how you're going to close out the game. The nice thing, as you pointed out, with the new Chandra and Guff is a lot of times with Planeswalker decks, they have a hard time finishing the game. Those two will help you finish the game. And it's really nice having a win condition in your command zone. So, but just expect that you're going to be playing a little bit of a longer game because you need to interact with the board, you need wrath, and then trust your commander and your other walkers to finish for you.
Another thing with Planeswalker decks is there's a ton of decisions that you have to make all the time. You have tons of game actions, and everything is like, do I tick up now? Do I tick down? Especially with all the proliferate and stuff. Like, where do I put this loyalty counter? What are my important Planeswalkers in this moment? If you're playing Guff, Goldfish a lot. Practice
100%.
With your deck, because you're going to find out what the important pieces are. You're going to find out when to tick up, when to tick down, when you don't have enough cards, when you need more ramp, and what Planeswalker is going to be the most important when. Planeswalkers are sort of infamously tough to play against because they take a lot of game actions and they do a lot of thinking. So the less that you can do the less thinking that you have to do on the spot, and the more practice you have that make those decisions easier, the better this deck is going to be to play against, and the less attention, honestly, you will attract. So this is the kind of deck that you want lots of practice with, that you want to be very smart and sharp with. This is sort of a side story, but one of the guys who taught me how to play Magic was a Gitrog player. And the Gitrog monster has a very similar play patterns. Very dirtily, does choices, drawing a lot of cards, finding loops, all of that. And it can be very difficult to play against because you're just waiting.
Right.
But I was always impressed with how fast he played and how smart and decisively he played. And it was because he played it a lot, and it was because he played it alone a lot. So if you're going to play a deck that you know can be frustrating to play against, make sure you're the fast Gitrog player.
Yeah, and that is generally true of playing any control deck, but especially true with Walker decks.
Yeah.
Because you have so many points throughout the course of the game where you can make a wide range of choices. And so being able to really nail that down, especially when you do start playing with the Chain Veil or Displacer Kitten and stuff like that, because that just makes it even more complicated. Make sure that you know on any given turn, and really do a lot of thinking on other players' turn to know, hey, as soon as I untap, I'm doing this and this and this, and execute your game plan and pass.
Yeah.
Because nothing is scarier than a player who takes, 10, 20 minutes on their turn and then passes. Everybody else is like, whoa, what do we need to do something about that.
Clearly they have options.
Right.
Yeah.
So you exactly nail it. Goldfish the deck, get tons of practice with it. And and I wish everybody the best of luck. I think it's a lot of fun. And
this was the first deck I pre-ordered.
Really?
This one. Yeah. I think there's some really cool stuff in it. Obviously, I have a Jund Planeswalker deck, so I do like Super Friends. And there's some... I like that they're showing a little bit of casual attention to a very popular and famously very expensive archetype.
Yeah, because in the past, every single Planeswalker was mythic. So you go through across Magic's history, and a lot of them tend to be a little bit more expensive. Yeah. And now, ever since War of the Spark, we have some uncommon and stuff like that. But that still remains true, where a lot of walkers tend to be a little bit pricier.
Yeah.
And that's really nice that they reprinted a ton of them. Even when I was doing the upgrade, I was surprised at how cheap some of the includes were, because they've done such a good job at reprinting them.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. So myself, I don't currently have any Planeswalker decks. And one of the main reasons for that, even though I love control decks, is I don't like how much hate they generate and how hard it is for a lot of Planeswalker decks to close the game. I love this deck. I love the fact that in the command zone, you can point to something and be like, I know I can reliably close out the game. I have my win condition in the command zone that is a walker and is hitting all of the things that you want in a Planeswalker deck. And then getting that Chandra, it's really cool to see that they paid attention to that strategy that a lot of people really enjoy, and are giving us reliable ways to have shorter games, not drag the game out super long.
Thank you.
Yeah, so... awesome job.
Yeah. To the listeners, what do you think of the Planeswalker Party Precon? Any cards we missed in this upgrade? Any cards you're like, oh, well, we got to have this card? Please let us know, because there's going to be people in the comments that do want to build this deck. So your comments are helpful. Any cards we suggested to take out that you disagree with? That you're like, what? You need that Ajani Steadfast.
You need that Cartographer's Hawk.
Cartographer's Hawk is my pet card. Let us know why you think it's important in the deck, and maybe something else that you would cut over the cards that we cut.
Yeah, definitely.
We are in the comments. We are on the podcast team. We are in the comments. We see you.
Yeah.
So please let us know what you think. And of course, what you think about the $50 upgrade. I think it's kind of fun. You guys get to see some real bangers that get put in these decks. But
yeah, I know at least on the deck building side, the nice thing with the $50 budget over the $30 budget is I felt like I could include all of the pieces that I wanted to. Like I didn't leave feeling wanting.
Right.
I was like, oh yeah, this feels good. I added $50 and I hit everything I wanted to hit. So it's kind of cool.
If you're going to spend those $50, spend them on cardkingdom.com/command. That is the place where you can pick up singles, sealed product, this Precon, any of the Precons. Card Kingdom has a great selection of cards. They're going to have the Precons you're looking for. They're going to have the sealed product you're looking for Commander Masters. This set is full of really spicy commander cards, really high ticket items too. So if you're looking for reprints, if you're trying to grow your commander collection, if you're new to commander, this is an expensive product, but definitely a product that will bolster your collection.
Absolutely. You should be hopping onto Card Kingdom and at the very least pick up all the singles that are going to go down because they're getting a good reprint.
Absolutely.
The fact that they reprinted the free spell cycle is really cool.
Huge.
So like there's just a ton that I've been looking through, and I'm just like, oh great, this is getting reprinted. Once these prices kind of settle, I'm going to pick up a bunch of these, and absolutely go to cardkingdom.com/command.
Yeah, reprint sets work. Keep an eye on those prices and pick them up for your collection. And once you have those pricey singles in your hand, you're going to need to protect them. Put them in sleeves and go to ultrapro.com/command to do so. UltraPro has all of the official Magic art. So if you're dedicated to Guff, if you're a Guffman, you can go find all of the Guff apparel over there. I love the art for Guff. I think he's so cool.
Yeah, did you just get the giant hat as we talked about earlier? Roll out with
the Commodore hat, a giant red beard. It'll be pretty sweaty in there probably, but I believe in you.
Yeah.
Plus, I really like the satin cubes that UltraPro has. They're really solid deck boxes. They're big, so they fit your double-sleeved decks. And we're doing a lot of traveling coming up because we've got MagicCons going on, and I like the satin cubes because I know my cards aren't moving around a whole lot. They're not getting popped open in my suitcase. I know that they're safe with UltraPro products. So again, support your card collection and the show at ultrapro.com/command. We have some time, so I do want to do an end step today. Let's talk about what are you doing that's cool outside of the world of Magic?
Yeah, so this one is interesting. I've been, a lot of you guys probably don't know this, but you guys here know this. Mm-hmm. I was gone for about a month. And the reason for that, for those of you that don't know, I'm currently in the Marine Corps. I'm in the Marine Corps Reserves. And I got the opportunity to go up to Bridgeport, California to do mountain warfare training. That's actually what this jacket is.
Swag.
But the whole thing that I want to put out for all of you guys is it was really cool just learning sort of nature survival stuff.
Sure.
And, going on a lot of hikes. And during that time, I was off of my phone and electronics for a period of time. And it was really nice just having a little bit of a break, being up in the mountains and just sort of just taking a break from everything else going on right now. And on top of that, the nice thing about specifically going up in the mountains is it's not hot there. It actually snowed while we were there, and I was in there in the middle of June, because it's also where we do our cold weather training. But just really good, just general survival techniques. One of the fascinating things I learned is even in cold weather, one of the main reasons that we have casualties is people passing out from heat exhaustion, because you put on a bunch of clothes to get warm, and then you start exercising, going out and hiking and stuff like that. Your body heats up, and then a lot of people, you're not drinking enough water, so then you pass out from heat exhaustion and stuff like that. So I would just say for all of you, since at least in the Northern Hemisphere, we're in the middle of summer, go out, enjoy some hiking, see some nature. My family just went on a bit of a camping trip last week, and I just encourage all of you, just go out, see if there's any, survival courses that you can do, because they're great skills to have. You never know when you might need it. And I just had a blast doing it. So I would just encourage all of you to go out and just learn a little bit and go outside and learn new things.
My brother took an avalanche survival class, and got his avalanche certification, and my parents were like, oh, I'm so glad that he can save himself in case he gets caught in an avalanche. And Nate was like, oh no, it teaches you to save somebody else.
You're like, I don't know what to do if I did that.
He's like, if you're under there, you hope somebody else took the avalanche
so they can get you out.
So they can get you out of there.
Yeah,
being educated, you could save somebody else.
Yeah, and that's something like getting CPR certified. Yeah. If you're ever in a situation, like you never know when you're going to be in the situation when you need it, but if you ever get in that situation, you're just grateful that you know it. Like even with that, like there's certain gear that we carry that like if you are caught in an avalanche, you can like put a stick up, so like while you can't get out, people will know where you are.
Like a cartoon flag.
That's basically what it is.
Help.
And then you have like shovels and stuff so you can dig people out and whatnot. And so all of these skills are worthwhile. And even as we touched on, like CPR, getting CPR certification, do it. You'll be grateful that you did in the event you're ever in that situation. And I hope you're not, but you never know.
Be prepared. Before we get out of here, we're going to say thank you to our amazing team here at the Command Zone. Thank you to Eric Lem, Megan Yip, Gaurav Galati, Jordan Pridgeon, Jamie Block, Arthur Meadowcroft, Manson Lung, Josh Murphy, Jake Boss, Sam Waldo, Evan Limburger, Lady Danger, Craig Lanchett, Katie Cole, Mitch Trafford, Gabriel Pozos, Josh Lee Quide, Jimmy Wong, and of course, Damen Lenz for taking the time. Good upgrade.
Oh, thank you. I was very proud of my work. I worked hard on it. But,
it's very good.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
See you next time.
Is that just going to be a thing?
I don't know. It's fun.
Thank you for your attention. For further inquiries, send an email to commandcast@rocketjump.com or ask us on Twitter @JFWong and @JoshLeeQuai. See you later, alligator.
Greetings, humans.